Previously on Get Canceled. We're recording this Christmas Eve, but yeah, the end of the year, the new year, there's a lot of shit we've got to say. And I think who better to have come on than my friend comedian, Matt Nagin. So welcome.
Thank you very much. I am happy to be here. And I love chilling with you on Christmas. I'm a Jew and we don't have a lot going on in Christmas. You know, it's just this or shove a dreidel up my ass.
Jews representing what? I've heard things where they're saying there's a turn against the woke culture, this woke ideology. People are starting to push back. I haven't seen it. I mean, I do know the word retard is making a comeback. There is a natural progression of things. I think woke ideology killed the natural evolution of people becoming more like, oh, that's a little bit distasteful.
What we're living in now is it's gotten divorced from reality with some of these movies. In the TV film world, there's still a lot of censorship, a lot of repression, this indoctrination. You know, you find it everywhere, even in the book world. You know, I have 5 books out there, and I've been doing some book signings. Now, I'll tell you, the one thing about the book signing is you got to drive like 8 hours to the spot, right? So I would rather do the book signings like Biden ran the White House, right? Like just all auto pen. That would be better.
A la Biden, I love it. It's a weird thing they're doing. It's like a trickery. It's a trickery that Hollywood is trying to play where they're showing us a lot of things that aren't reality. And I will give them the fact that movies and TV, it's not reality. So they really do have the freedom to do whatever they want. However, I think they're starting to lose touch of what the audience wants.
Exactly. What's your opinion on this Riyadh festival? I know that just passed, but there was a lot of controversy.
I did want to talk to you about this. Chop, chop, square. Now, first of all, you're taking blood money. You're taking disgusting blood money. And like the lesbians, the black people, the gays that are going over there making these jokes that if one person who lived in that country said a 10th of what these jokes were, or a 10th of trying to be a lesbian or gay or something, that's it. They're dead. And they're not dead in a humane way. And again, it's a culture that doesn't support the idea of comedy, that doesn't support free speech. Warning, what you are about to hear is not for the faint-hearted. This is their cue to stop listening. It's time to stop giving a fuck about offending every retarded cocksucker and little bitch pussy. For every asshole, twat, and chode, the cunts of America will continue to make jokes with the freedom bestowed upon us by the First Amendment. We will no longer be afraid to piss off the woke bastards. In the words of the great Joan Rivers, just lighten the fuck up. These are just jokes, you assholes. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Get Canceled. I am your host, Cheryl Scott. And before we get started, I have a couple announcements. This is an anonymous podcast, so we need your help getting the word out. If you enjoy what you hear, please rate, review, subscribe, and share this show with your friends, your family, and most importantly, your enemies. Disclaimer. The views expressed by our guests do not necessarily represent the views of the Get Canceled podcast. We're just trying to have a little fun here in this world, so chill the fuck out. We have a new lane, Get Canceled Confessions. Please email your deepest, darkest secrets, the ones that nobody knows about, your deathbed confessions. Email those to getcanceledinfo@gmail.com. That's canceled with 1 L, and we will read them on the show. All right, now that that's done, let's get back to today's episode. I still like to talk about COVID because I think it was such a huge misstep on society and people don't talk about it enough. You know, you couldn't go out with COVID and you had to stay inside, and it made everyone even more hyper-focused on their children, wrapping them in bubble wrap. Don't get sick. Does someone have a cough? Who's coughing? Is that a nose running? You know, everyone lost their minds. They're so paranoid, but kids need to learn and have risk assessment. Otherwise, you wind up being afraid of everything, you know?
Yeah, and everyone has their own risk assessment. Like during COVID, mine was, I should go to the strip club. You know what I mean? I'm getting motorboated by a stripper while Fauci's like, maintain 6 feet of distance. You know, I found my own rules. You know, I ended up all right. I survived that whole thing. And the whole thing was so crazy over here. We had vaccine passports and whatnot. I don't know if you had that where you are. Where I'm from, New York, not down here in Alabama, but, you know, back in New York then. And you would go into a restaurant, you got to show your vaccine passport. I would show my fake vaccine passport because I never got it. Hey, I beat the government. And then I would go inside, and then they sit you down, and they have plastic around your dime, but on the top, it's free open air. So what is this?
Wait, I'm so sorry. I haven't seen this. So wait, you would go in, and each table itself had its own covering or casing?
So there would be like a glass partition, but it would only go up. It wouldn't go up to the ceiling. It would just go up just to the level, a little above your head.
Are you talking about like at a counter if you're ordering food, or at a table?
At like a booth, for example.
At a booth.
So you'd be sitting at a booth. But the rest of the air is open. The front side of it's open. Above it's open. COVID doesn't just stop. It's not like you're in your own area. I mean, it was all performative.
That's really when like the people are retarded, because they spewed out the most absurd shit. Like you're going on your flight and they're like, okay, we're in the midst of COVID right now. Everyone fly around. That's fine. Keep your mask on. And as you eat, just make sure you put your mask up in between bites. I'm so sorry, but once you break the barrier of something, you cannot restore it. Like, what the fuck? Drives me crazy. I did go to a restaurant where they checked if you were vaccinated. They had you put the mask on, and then they walked you to the table. You sit down, and then you can take your mask off.
That too.
And there was no partition. But I'm just like, me wearing my mask from the host stand to the table is supposed to do what? Please enlighten me. Like, what?
But the craziest part about that whole thing was that people just went along with it. They saw nothing wrong with it.
Sheeple. You're all sheeple.
Total zombie conformist little wusses. Everybody went along with it. And it was so irrational. Just like the vaccine to me, I mean, I was infected with COVID. I had COVID in March 2020. And they're telling me I have to obtain a vaccine for COVID to have a job or to go inside or to do anything. I mean, that's part of what got me down to Alabama. There was other factors. But I mean, it was so insane. Why? I already had the condition.
It's like they completely forgot about natural immunity. The fact that you had it and they're making you get a vaccine that you don't need because you just had the illness. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, so that's when I lost a little bit of faith in humanity. You know what I mean? And some people are owed an apology, in my opinion. That was a crazy time. It did lower my faith a little bit in humanity and show how people can be manipulated. I mean, hey, we're Jews, so we should know this. We have Nazi Germany. But it was a wake-up call. It was a wake-up call that it could happen today,
Absolutely. And I think, if we're going to go into conspiracy theory time, like this was very eye-opening for the governments around the world. How easy is it to get the people in line, to get the people to do what I say? Like, what is the next quote-unquote pandemic where they're going to be like, the whole world needs to do that? I mean, pretty much the whole fucking world shut down, and there were countries that locked their citizens in their rooms, in hotels. People turning on each other, turning people into the government. They're not wearing a mask. They had a friend over, What the fuck is that? I thought we're supposed to be sticking it to the man. You know what I mean?
Australia, they had camps. They literally had camps for the COVID infectees or the people suspected of infected.
Wow.
Little camps where they lock people up. They lock you up in a jail with no rights whatsoever. I mean, what else can we say? They could do that over anything. They totally trampled upon all our civil liberties. There is no respect in this country for civil liberties, in my opinion.
And also the justification behind it. People were not dying the way that the response of shutting down the world, it doesn't compute.
Right.
They really over-exaggerated how bad it was in order to instill fear. Like the reaction of shutting things down. And also we're like, stay indoors. No, go get some vitamin D and exercise. That's actually the best thing for you. And they're like, stay inside.
True, 100%. And I think even if it was bad, you have a certain right. You have a certain medical freedom. That goes back to Nuremberg, to decide what to put in your body. Whether it's a terrible pandemic or not. But yes, certainly they made it out to be much worse than it was. It was really total propaganda. It came on from on high with Fauci. I still think he should be prosecuted.
I 100% agree with you. But that auto pen, man, that damn auto pen. But you know what? We're all talking about restitution, meaning, certain black people are talking about restitution, but we need restitution for COVID. I'm sorry, Fauci, you made millions off of COVID. There were people that made millions. And then on the flip side, people lost their livelihoods. So what the fuck? Let's talk about restitution, okay? No one gets it. And we have to pick up our pieces and learn our lesson.
Exactly. Black people are getting reparations. I got screwed on COVID. I'll take a donkey and a half an acre or something, or a retarded goldfish and a quarter acre. Whatever you want to give me. Let's negotiate. But I could use something here. Come on, help me out.
Help a brother out.
Help a brother. Help a Jewish brother out. Come on. Oh, man.
I was gonna say something. The restitution of it all, or like pain. Okay, you're looking at me. I'm a white American, but my ancestors are newly immigrants from other countries. And no, I did not have ancestors that lived here during slavery. So why am I supposed to pay restitution because I'm white? I had nothing to do with any of this shit, first of all. Second of all, you most likely aren't a descendant of slavery just because you're black. So there's that. And then third of all, who hasn't been enslaved? Slavery is as old as the sun rising. I'm just it is what it is. And every single country has been built off the backs of slaves. So relax. You are not unique to this situation. What you are unique to is this is a country that fought to end slavery. That's the only country that's ever done that. So everyone relax. We're all slaves. And that's enough already. Honestly.
No, and what you're saying is very true, that it's more complicated than it looks. I'll give you an example. She's of mixed origin. Now, she's part Indian, so her skin tone's a little darker, and then her other part is British. And if you track her ancestors, even though she looks brown, part of her ancestors were slave owners. So my point is, she could look like someone that would get reparations, but she should probably be paying them. You see what I'm saying? There's a lot of people like that. It's very deceptive. They could be black and have been slave owners and stuff. We don't really know the complexity of this stuff. And you're going back hundreds of years. It's like an absurd thing to litigate like that, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm sorry about what happened, but hey, that's a couple hundred years.
Shit happens. As if this is the only ugly phase of history. History is very complicated, and there were very disgusting things done to people. There was not a lot of value for human life always. I mean, let's go back to gladiator times. They would just throw people in there, go fight a lion. You know what I'm saying? You're going to get ripped apart by a lion. That's your death.
Yeah.
So life is not fair. Life is not easy. And a lot of people and a lot of cultures have struggled. So let's just relax and maybe try to find some common ground of oh yeah, I'm a slave, you're a slave. You know what I mean?
I'm a slave, you're a slave.
Hey.
Yo, what's up, my slave? Yo, what's up?
Bro?
Yo, yeah, but actually, if anyone should get reparations, I honestly say it's probably women, because back in the day, like Genghis Khan, he came into your town, he blew that shit up, killed everybody. He starts raping the women. He put the chain on them, made them their slaves. That's it. They were property.
Oh my God, I never thought about that. Women back then, they were just slaves to whatever household they were captured into. You know what I mean? It's not necessarily they had free will. Oh, speaking of Chop Chop Square from back, 5 minutes ago or whenever it was, but Saudi Arabia and other cultures like that, they will marry, the man is a grown man, and then they marry an 8-year-old child.
Wow.
That is a thing that happens over there, and there's videos of it. And they marry this child, and you see them and they kiss. It's so crazy, this culture and what goes on over there.
That's a child slave and pedophilia.
Yeah.
And so the point is, there's all kinds of slavery. There's all kinds of messed up stuff going on. We can't litigate all this stuff through the past.
Or make one more important than the other. If you're saying this slavery needs reparations, what's not to say that the other shit that happened? What about the Japanese internment camps? We don't need reparations. We're all just trying to do better, hopefully. And shit has happened to all of our cultures. That's just the way it is. It's life, I do think we're doing better. If anyone just takes a minute and breathes, I understand Trump is president. It's terrifying for certain people, but just take a minute and reflect back on mankind. We used to have to fight woolly mammoths and get stuck in tar, and then you would just slowly die because you're stuck in tar, or then you hopefully a woolly mammoth will kill you, otherwise you starve to death. But shit is difficult, and it's difficult for everybody. Again, be real. Don't live in this delusion my life is the worst life. Life is challenging and it is difficult, and shit's happened that is way more fucked up than what's happening now. So can we just relax?
Exactly. Imagine being a caveman on the plains and you got a woolly mammoth tuck stuff up your ass. You know what I mean? You got a woolly, he's giving you a fur job or something. I don't know, that whole thing. So we're worried about fentanyl or whatever we're worried about now. Racism. We're so privileged. Everything is so much better than it was hundreds of years ago. You had to do so much more manual labor. You lived on the floor of a dirty house, and you had to live like an Amish person.
You kept busy. You always had something to do because as you're living, something needs tending to.
Exactly. Tending to chickens and tending to this and that and milking the cow and all this stuff. These people have too much free time on their hands to be offended and to seek reparations. Make your own reparations by living a virtuous life. Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's gotten out of hand.
You know what? You can get off your soapbox, but let's just have everyone else get off their platform. You know what I mean? All these fucking celebrities and their platforms, and everyone's got a fucking platform. No, shut the fuck up and sit down. Nobody asked for your opinion, okay? I'm so over, but I have a platform and I need to use it. No, you don't. No, you don't. You're not an expert in anything. Just stop talking.
Exactly. I don't want to be lectured by Leonardo DiCaprio.
They have no touch of reality. Think about it. Leonardo DiCaprio has been an actor since he was a small child. This is a life that is completely abnormal. He has no ability to relate to a common folk, okay? Like, you as just like regular Joe Schmo on the farm is going to listen to someone like Leonardo DiCaprio. He has no idea what it's like to have a life like yours and is so completely out of touch. And that's how all of these people are. And now they're delusional into thinking that we give a fuck about what they have to say. Shut up and act. I miss the days where I don't know a thing about my actors. Like, I don't want to know anything about you. The turning point for me was when Tom Cruise jumped on Oprah Winfrey's couch declaring his love for Katie Holmes.
I remember that.
Yeah, it was traumatic for everybody, okay? Nobody wants to see their favorite actor or celebrity in real life because you're all retarded, okay? You're all fucking idiots, and it destroys the illusion of this character that you're playing. So I think social media, once again, has done a disservice to the entertainment industry in that regard because everyone needs to act and then at the same time, virtue signal. They need to get on their platform and talk about how their shit don't stink.
I agree. Focus on the actors. And let's get back to acting as real characters like Dustin Hoffman playing the autistic guy in Rain Man. You know, let's get back to not an actual autistic guy being it, but an actual actor, you know, acting as the part.
That's another thing, the whole woke thing of like, do we need to hire someone that actually is that person? Like, if they're retarded or if they have Bell's palsy, do we need to hire an actor like that? Or if it's animated, can someone who's a white person or an Indian person do the voiceover of a black person? Let's be real, it always falls on the white person. If it was an Indian person doing the voice of a black person, I don't think they would care. Only if it's a white person, because that was a fucking thing that happened a few years ago around COVID time.
Exactly. They did the Indian, my name is, and then they got all offended because of The Simpsons.
Yeah, because it was a white guy.
Yeah, like
a white guy who did, I think, 20 different characters on The Simpsons, maybe more. He's a character actor.
That's his job.
Or, like, do you have to hire a gay person to play a gay person?
No, it's absurd.
It's acting. You're acting.
It's actually better, in my view, when you're not that. It shows better acting. It's more theatrical. It's just better. Hollywood has become obsessed with getting the real thing, and that's more authentic. But in trying to be more authentic, they're actually more fake. And that's really where we're at. It's a fraudulent culture. They're fraudulent with the woke. They're fraudulent with trying to cast the real people. And people see through it. It's a lot of BS we're being spoon-fed. And we got to get back to what's real. And that's what people want. They want what's raw and what's honest. They're not putting up with this artificial reproductions and phony indoctrination.
Yeah, I think they've had enough. They're starting to see through it. It feels artificial because you're like looking around and you're like, wait a minute, my eyes see one thing, but what I'm being told is something else. And also there's a loss of common sense. A lot of this stuff that's being pushed, if you really think about it, if you use some common sense, you could break it down and just sort of see it for what it is or take it down a notch. I think that a lot of times people are operating at an 11 or a 12, and that's not a way to live. Life is not that way. Like, we're actually okay. Everyone's okay for the most part, you know?
Right. Yeah, I think people are a little bit more severed from, you know, we're a little older. So we're, I think, a little more connected than this Gen Z and the younger millennials to reality. But this younger generation with social media and with distractions and with living in a bubble that has become more and more a prominent part of society, I think that's a real problem. Just look at the difference between movies of the 70s and movies of today. It's like a different kind of world that's being portrayed.
And people don't live in reality anymore. They are in a virtual world. Again, COVID facilitated this, but people do live in a virtual world. And that means that world caters to them. Whatever social media or whatever, you know, if they have these alternate, what are they called? Like avatars, and they live in a different world, and people have different ways to escape. Even TV, you know, like people binge watch TV. That's also another thing that streaming services changed. When we were growing up and we were kids, it was not one after the next after the next. If that happened, that was a big deal. And it was like, oh my gosh, this show is having a marathon all day. It's going to be playing this show. And that was crazy because, you know, you didn't really record things. At one point, there became something called a DVR where you could record live TV. But for the most part, it was like you had to watch it. You had to catch it live. You had to watch it.
Exactly. I remember when I first started binge watching, it was probably one of the first shows was Breaking Bad. And I'm like, I'm more addicted to watching Breaking Bad than these characters are to Matt. You know what I mean? Because I'm binging. I'm like fiending for more. I'm like, I got to see more. I got to see more.
You're so tired. You got bags under your eyes, but you're like, I need another one. And then like, how much can your brain retain? I have a friend, I mean, granted, she's a stoner, so there's that caveat. But when she's watching stuff, she'll binge watch things and she just doesn't remember any details of the show. Because I think you're consuming so much at once. And granted, if you're stoned or you're playing on your phone, you're doing other things, you're not going to retain it all. So there's that aspect where like maybe we're consuming a lot, but how much are we really digesting? It's like overconsumption. It reminds me, did you ever watch Married with Children?
Yes, Married with Children was a great sitcom. I love that.
I fucking love Married with Children. So there's this episode where Bud finds out that he can teach Kelly. So like Bud is the son and he's kind of like a mischievous little guy. And then Kelly is his older sister who's like the dumb sex pot. And he finds a way to teach her. But whenever he teaches her something else gets lost because her brain is so limited in how much she can consume.
Right. I remember this now.
Yeah. So he's teaching her certain things. And then the stuff like how to open a door, she like doesn't understand like how to open a door. And it's like, that's how it is when you're watching these shows, you're binge watching these shows. There's only so much that you can process and remember at one time. You know what I mean?
Wow, that's the perfect metaphor for this generation. Everyone is like Kelly. Everyone's a blonde bimbo with 3 brain cells that makes a Neanderthal look like a whiz kid. You know what I mean? Just like an outtake on Idiocracy. I don't know if you remember saw that movie.
Oh my gosh, that movie is coming true. I want to do an episode actually on that movie, like have a movie night, watch it, and then record afterward. I remember when that movie came out, I went and saw it in the theater, and I left that movie thinking, I need to read a fucking book right now. Give me a book. It just hit too close to home, and it's like now we're on the cusp of being there. Yeah,
I mean, that movie was a documentary. You haven't seen it. It really is. That and Eyes Wide Shut were the two that predicted our culture. I mean, look at all the stuff coming out with Clinton. Deepak Chopra, the guy, the universe and all everything happens for a reason. You must trust. Meanwhile, he's out banging these 12-year-olds or whatever he's doing. That guy, I always knew he was a fraud because he was just that like phony charlatan with that fake Bobby accent. He's Oprah's little bootlicker. I always knew there was something wrong with that guy. He just struck me as a phony. And now we know he was probably, having these 12-year-olds, especially for a spiritual guru who acts like he's God's gift to earth and he understands the universe. Honestly, the only thing profound that guy ever said was just the accent. It's the universe, the source that you connect to source energy. When you have source, everything will be right. They just use words. They don't mean anything. And people are like, wow, he said source.
That is a trend of like people just talking using words and not meaning anything. Like, honestly, I have noticed that.
I listened to that guy. I didn't believe a word he said. And Clinton, look at all the pictures that came out with him.
Yeah. I did not have sexual relations. I mean, we know who you are, Clinton. Like, we all knew who he was. And that's another thing. It's like, I'm really not one way or the other. Like, I'm really pretty much in the middle. But I'm just like, when people talk about Trump, I'm also like, hello, do we not remember Clinton and like Kennedy? I'm just saying they're both kind of the same to me in terms of the deviant behavior that goes on. I just feel like anyone who goes into politics is just, especially to try to be the president, you know what I mean? Like, you're a little full of yourself and probably try to fuck a bunch of women. Just saying. Or men.
Biden's got a rape, accuser.
I just think they're all the same. And just hopefully you can try to pick one that's not that bad. And that's why there's terms. I just think that really at the end of it, they're all corrupt criminals for the most part. If you go into that line of work, it's just that's ingrained in the culture. And I don't think they all start out that way, but I think that's the game. And you either play ball or you go home.
Power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts. Absolutely. And we've seen that in this venue. But I mean, Eyes Wide Shut really, I think, nailed a lot of with these secret sex parties.
The Illuminati and shit, cults, or like the Yale, like what are the Skull and Crossbones or whatever.
Bohemian Grove is one of them.
Do you think that they do culty shit or like sacrifices, like they slit or they cut themselves and like bleed into shit? Like do culty shit or like dark shit like that?
I think that's part of it, but I think also
they're all just fucking on drugs. It's more like a party.
I think there could be kind of like Eyes Wide Shut, young women sacrifices kind of thing that are brought in for these powerful men, because usually it's men, let's be real, like a Prince Andrew. And, there's CIA, of course, involvement, I think, with a guy like Epstein, because, you get a guy like Bill Gates on tape, you get Bill Clinton, and now you have ammo against him. So I think probably was part of it that they recorded these people, but that it may be government involved. But whether it was or not, these people, Bill Gates is another one. I'm surprised they still have their reputation.
But they do have enough power to suppress things.
Right.
You can buy the media to some degree. A lot of times people are for sale.
True. I mean, how can you trust these people after what some of the stuff that's come out,
Yeah, you shouldn't trust anybody, really.
It really makes you question. I think more than ever, we should question authority. We should question what we're being told and why we're being told it. We should be thinking for ourselves, because there's a lot of nefarious stuff that goes on, particularly among the elite.
I agree. Honestly, people need to wake up.
Exactly. So we need those critical thinking skills we learned in 8th grade. That's another thing that's been lost. Use your own intelligence, use your own thoughts, make your own conclusions.
Yeah, think for yourself. You need to learn how to think for yourself. But that is different. I grew up going to school where we were taught to think for ourselves and to think outside the box. I don't think that's the case today. So people aren't even learning this skill in school anymore. They're just learning to conform, to be people pleasing, to not upset your fellow student. So there's a big problem going on with this next generation. They're not even going to have that ability because it is something that needs to be taught.
100%. And that's part of my whole thing in my life. I'll tell you the truth. A lot of the stuff I do, I believe that it's better to alienate people and be true to who you are than to live your life like a bot where you don't alienate anyone and everything's safe, but you're not a real person. We have to get back to being real human beings. We have our foibles, we have our advantages, and talk things out. We may not always agree, but we can work things out and we can come to real understanding. But let's meet from a real place and not just be phony, corporate speak, fabricated type people. That's the death of the soul,
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be just one note, some sort of weird cult-like thing if everyone's thinking the same way. The whole point of America is that free thought, freedom of speech, freedom of idea. It's okay for people to have different ideas. It doesn't mean they're a bad person. I don't understand why there isn't space for a variety of thought. People can have different perspectives, and I think the goal is to meet in the middle. Or if this is your way of thinking, and this is the other person's way of thinking, that's okay too. I live here in America. It's not like that. We're talking about Saudi Arabia. There's not space for all people.
Exactly. We joke around, but myself too, we all have to work on being tolerant of different people, different points of view. And liberal people should also be tolerating people that are conservative or that you say are Trumpers or that have a different ideology than you. And right-wing people should be tolerating the left-wing people. Now, we don't have to agree, but we should try to tolerate and remember we're all the same fundamentally and try to work, at least have some dialogue. I have a very progressive left-wing friend, but we're able to have dialogue and discuss. We don't always agree on things, but we can have a dialogue, and that's helpful sometimes.
And also, you don't always have to talk about politics. That's not the only thing that there is to talk about. There's other things in the world that you can enjoy. And this idea lately of not seeing your family, there's a trend where people are choosing to not spend time with their family because of different politics or whatnot. And that actually makes me very sad because we all need each other. We're social beings. Family is incredibly important. This idea that because they voted Trump or they voted Harris, that there should be a divide amongst family over politics and you're choosing not to see them is really sad to me. And this is a trend that's happened. People are choosing to isolate from their families where they just cut their families out. Say you have children, you're cutting out the ability for them to have an experience with their grandparents, their aunts, uncles, cousins. And it's very selfish, I think. And it's like, you can't put that shit aside. Like, why talk about it? If you know someone's one way and you're the other way, just don't talk about it.
Exactly. You might have some things in common. Like maybe you both think Santa's fat or, the reindeers fly too close to the sun, whatever. Just talk about something else. That's your family. And people are too quick to turn on their own family. It's very important to have a connection to your family. Even if you've had issues, I understand. But if you can make it work, even if it's an imperfect, it's very healing and it's better for you psychologically than having no connection to your family. Now, there are cases where you have to cut off your family. It's such a bad situation. But if you can work it out, it's very important. And it will also help you get along with other people from a different walk of life.
That's such a good point.
Yeah. And the main thing that's problematic is that we don't have that dialogue like we used to. We don't have the civil liberties, and we're not being open and engaged. We're in our silos. We're divided, and we really need more unity now than ever. We're more alike than we believe. You find the commonalities and you try to make it work. Even if it's not perfect, it's going to be a lot healthier for you than none.
Oh my gosh, Matt, this was so much fun. I really want to thank you for coming on. I had a great time. I can't wait to talk about more things in the future.
Thanks so much for having me. This has been a great time. I really enjoyed our talk, and always fun coming on your show.
Absolutely. Okay, so let us know where we can find more about you.
Well, you can check out my website, mattnagin.com. Nagin. All right. It's the N word you could say. And I got a bunch of shows coming up. You can check out my calendar on mattnagin.com. You check me on social media at Nagin, please. All right. So you guys are my Nagins now. You my Nagins. All right.
I love it.
And check out my books. I'm on Amazon. I got 5 books on there. I got a humor book called Do Not Feed the Clown. My latest book is called The Book of Outcasts. A lot of humor in there. A bunch of short stories. And
The Book of Outcasts?
The Book of Outcasts, my latest book.
I'm going to need to check that out, actually. I love that idea. Outcasts are the best, I feel like. You know, I was an outcast a little bit. I was awkward socially. It's not a bad thing.
100%. I'm an outcast myself. Creatively, it's good. It gives you an outsider point of view, and you can look at the world. And I find some of these outcasts are some of the most interesting characters in fiction because they are good foils to comment on society and its foibles and see it with a clear eye.
I love it. All right. Sounds great. So we'll have you again soon, all right? Happy New Year. Happy New Year out there to everyone. Okay. Let's be optimistic here. Let's end on a 2026 optimistic. Like, what would you like to see for 2026?
Well, I'd like to see an AI girlfriend. So, you know.
I'm dying inside. You just said that. Are you kidding? My worst nightmare come to truth. I thought we're supposed to be sticking it to the man. New episodes dropping every Wednesday.